Good evening, everyone. Am my voice audible? Okay. So this is Rajat. So as you all know, so today's session is on how to create UI with Flutter. Okay. So as you all are beginner, so before going into technicalities or into technical terms, so let me clear out the term what is UI or what is user interface. So let's say one of your friends has given you an app to use and asked you for reviews, okay, regarding it. So how is the app and how do you like it or not? So you give reviews based on how quickly you notice the purpose. Purpose means for what the app is developed and how do you like the buttons, how the arrangement of elements is done, what is the color of the buttons and all of this. So basically the experience you are obtaining from using the app is a result of a better user interface. So UI simply means whenever we are given any sort of app, website or any digital service, the space where you are interacting as a user with the digital service is called as the UI. So we all are here to develop cross-platform applications. Okay, so the main motive of Flutter is that we can develop an application that can be used with the help of Android or iOS or through web. So now when as a developer we set a motive to create to develop an application, we do it to solve a purpose. Either we are assigned to develop an app or we create an idea and we provide the solution with the help of an app. And whenever we launch it and we are ready with the product by our side and we launch it to the market, okay, and the other user on the other side is totally unaware regarding the steps involved, or you can say that he is or she is not aware of the app, what is the purpose of the app, what are the properties or what are the features available in the app. So these are all the things that is unknown to a particular person. So a better UI clearly depicts what is the purpose of the app and how we're going to proceed with all the options available to meet our requirements. So this is the basic overview. What is the importance of UI in developing a particular app? So whenever we are developing an app with the help of Flutter with any development field, we need to know some basic terminologies. So in this case, if I will in this case, in case of Flutter, there are some basic terminologies. The first terminology is the widgets. From the session one, you might have a brief idea about widgets, but let me clear out this, that whenever you are looking into a screen, okay, there are text, there are buttons, there are images, and there are several elements which are placed in a certain manner. Okay, so these elements are called as widgets. These widgets are considered as class. So whenever we are writing, whenever we want to display certain widgets in our phone screen, okay, so we are writing corresponding programming code in our IDE. So widgets in programming terms are classes only. Okay, we can define different properties of a widget, like let's say we have a button, okay, and we want to add the 3D, the stroke, or we want to add some shadow. So these are different properties which we can apply to a particular widget, and it is completely dependent on the developer side, that what are properties the developer want to showcase to its user. Okay, so these are all widgets, which are the most smallest element which are placed into a screen, and the combination of widgets arranged in a specific way gives us the user interface. Okay, so next, moving on, we have material app class. So as we all know, the widgets are nothing but the classes which we will be using in the programming IDE. So material app class is nothing but a wrapper which wraps the entire widgets available with us. Okay, it is not. We will be implementing those material app class in the programming IDE, so you will have a better idea in the IDE. Okay. So next, moving on, we have scaffold widget. Now see, what is the importance of this particular widget, you will be seeing in the next slide. Now see, here there are two screenshots. Okay, in the first screenshot there is a device in which hello world is written in a red color and there is underline. Okay, now this particular user interface is obtained without using a scaffold widget. So without using a scaffold widget, if you are placing any text, then it will give a very ugly look. It is not a professional look at all. Rather, I could say that the underline which is there under the hello world is not provided by me. It is by default. So in order to provide a professional look, and more precisely in technical terms, we can say that in order to provide a material design to a particular application, we make use of scaffold widget. So here from the two screenshots, you can simply understand the importance of scaffold widget. Okay. So next, moving on, the container. So as you all know, so in a particular screen, you all have different widgets. Okay. Now, the different widgets are subset elements of a parent widget. Now, a parent widget is known as a container. In simple terms, we can say that a container is a parent widget that contains different widgets, and those widgets are called as children of the parent widget. Now, what is the importance of container? Why we are wrapping all the widgets inside a container? It is because we can simply cite an example that if you want to place a text, okay, now you want to give certain margin and padding to the text. Now it is not possible to give margin and padding to a text. Okay, so here comes the importance of container. Now if we enclose that particular text inside a container, we will be able to give margin, padding, or any sort of other properties, but the most common one is margin and padding, therefore I am continuously mentioning those terms. So these are particular properties which you can add if you enclose the text inside a container. So there are many other implications of container, but this one is the most common. Okay, so you will be familiarized with all these terms in the development process. I'm just giving you a brief overview what the term reflects. Okay. So you might have all seen a construction site. Now why I am writing stage 1? So you might have visited to one of your construction site in which you might have seen a person, most probably a civil engineer, holding a paper with a structure made with pen or pencils. Okay. Now that particular picture is basically the blueprint and how the end product gonna look after the entire structure is built. So this gives a brief idea that okay, my product is gonna look like this after my development procedure is over. Now the in the construction site, it is the civil engineer. In this case, we are the developers. We need to have a clear idea regarding how our app gonna look after the development phase. Now this is possible with the help of certain apps like Figma, like Adobe XD, but I generally prefer Figma because as it is the session is all about this, that the user interface of Figma is very appealing. It means that the elements, the properties, and whatever changes I need to do regarding a particular element is clearly visible and it is accessible to me. Now I am a beginner, so when I was a beginner to Figma, I generally preferred Figma's interface because all the elements, all the properties were placed in a most conducive way that I could easily learn how to use those properties. Okay, so in this particular stage, the developer designs the total app into different frames, and then all other operations can be performed. I will be moving to my Figma screen, so you will having a clear idea. So this is particularly the stage 1. And if I will move to my Figma home screen, then you can see Wait. Okay, my Figma screen is not visible, I guess. Okay, so here you can see my Figma's screen. Okay, so here I have developed a particular UI. Here you can see the red lines are for later use. You can realize the importance of these red lines in the later part of the session, but for now you can see that there is an image, there are text, and there is icons, and there are different text written in a certain way. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Actually, in this particular stage, the developer places those elements in a specific way. So here you can see the image is placed, and then the title of the image, then the star or the all the icons and all the text. Now, after completing this stage, the developer has the clear idea that my after the development procedure is over, my app is going to look like this. Now, another advantage of this stage is that if there is a client and he appoints a particular developer to develop an app, now the client has certain doubts regarding the design of the app. Now if the developer skips the stage one and directly hops into the development phase, then whatever changes in between the development phase that will be directed by the developer by the client, it will be difficult for the developer to implement such changes immediately. So this is the main importance why we are focusing on the stage one. So if the developer first focuses on that particular on this particular stage one, then whatever changes that will be directed by the client can be implemented easily. So after getting a final check from the client, the developer can switch to to the developing phase, and this particular procedure can end up within a less period of time if then we can say that if the developer skips this particular stage, then it will be difficult for the developer only to end the product in a very less amount of time. So for today's session, this particular UI we're going to be developed with the help of Flutter. So here we can see that the upper part contains a app bar. App bar means the section of the app screen which contains the title of the app. So here it is Flutter layout. Next it contains an image. Next there will be text. There are buttons and there is another text field. So from the UI, you can understand that we need to divide our whole screen into different widgets. So as discussed earlier, the widgets are only classes. So we need to develop separate class for separate widgets, and then we need to integrate inside a main function. So this will be the hierarchical order. So I will be taking to the IDE, and from that we could have a better idea why I have drawn the red lines. Okay. So here it is Android Studio. Okay, so this is the complete code. Hope my screen is visible. So whenever we are developing an app, you need to make sure that you decide the hierarchical order of the UI. For example, here you can see that inside the frame, let me zoom into the screen. Here you can see the total title name, the location, the icon, and the number of likes. These are all grouped into a certain group. Now, next is the icons, and the corresponding icon name is grouped into another group. Okay, next is the text field, and next is the image. Now, before you create an UI or rather write a code for a UI, you need to recognize individual groups. Why? Because it will be easier for you to write modular codes. So as you might, some of you may are familiar with Python or other programming languages, then it is ସେଇଟା ମୁଁ ଦେଖେଇନି so in the so before forming groups you need to select those text fields which have similar properties. For example, here you can see that this particular frame contains two text field, one icon, and the number of likes. So I have grouped them into a single group. So as I already said, in various programming languages like Python or in many programming languages, you might have thought of the importance of modular programming. So that particular idea is implemented here only. If we will divide all the sections, a total screen, into different sections, then it will be easier for us to write the code. Okay, so now after you divide all, now this is all for the developing purpose. It will not be showcased in the code. Now after you define different groups, then you need to recognize the location of the widgets. Now see, location of a particular widget can be determined with the help of rows and columns. Okay, for example, now see the title of the image, that is the lake campground, can be thought of a combination of a particular row and a particular column. So if I will reach third number row, second column, then I will reach this particular widget. Now, rows and columns will be helpful if we divide those particular elements into this structure. Okay, so after you now the column 1 depicts the two text widgets, column 2 defines that particular space, column 3 represents the image icon, now column 4 represents the 41 text widget. So from the first group we can conclude that we need to create a container. Inside that there will be text widgets, and we need to arrange those text widgets according to the row and column behavior. So if I will switch to the Android Studio, okay, so my Android Studio is visible, I guess. So first I have already mentioned that the title section. Okay, now see, this is the portion of the code for the title section. Now see, the entire title section is a container. So I have written container, and next inside that container I have added padding. Padding means it will give a inside of a space that is of 32 width. Next, you know that there will be a hierarchical order will be followed. That after we decide the container that will be parent widget, it will contain different children. So next, as I already mentioned, there will be rows and columns. So first we decided that it will be a container and it will be a row. Okay, so here from Figma you can see it is a particular frame or is a particular row. Now therefore I have written child is a row. Okay, now this particular syntax is a general syntax. It means that it will be a property, after the colon it will be a values. Now value can be of a widget or any value which will be seen in the letter code. Okay, now see here the child, then followed by the row. Next, inside the row there are different columns mentioned: column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. So corresponding code is that children. Why I have written expanded? It is because the entire space will be available for the children. Now first is the child column. Then comes the first column which contains the text widget. Now I have already mentioned you that whenever we need to add margin or padding to a text widget, we need to enclose it within the container. So therefore I have enclosed it inside a container. Okay, so we can add different properties like font weight or font color, but for now I have simply given any font weight as properties. Next, first the text part is over. Next is the another text field, that is the location of the image. Third, this is the second text field. From Figma you can see that up to this point we have covered the code for this particular, that is the title of the image and the location of the image. Now next comes the icon. So you will be writing, these are all general purpose syntax. So icon inside, now see, these are all classes. As we already discussed, widgets are only classes. So icons, so these are particularly, we are giving constructors. Okay, so icons, so since it is a star icon, so I have written icons dot star. So icons are the, another thing to mention, that there are general icons which are mentioned by the Flutter SDK. It is available by default. We can directly use those particular icons in our code. So therefore icons dot star, we can give any color to it. So as I already told, that on the left hand side it will be a property, and after colon it will be a value of that property, whether it will be a widget or in this case colors dot red. Okay, now up to this we have written the code for the star icon, and next we have mentioned the text. So with the help of rows and columns, we can able to write the code for particular this segment in a better way. Okay, now after you end up coding for this particular group, you could move to the next section, that is this particular icon section. Now see, this particular is a parent widget, so we need to write widget, and the name, befitting name you can give. So here, since it contains buttons, so I have given button section. Now as already mentioned, it will also be a row, and inside the row I have written three buttons, that is the call button, near me, and say I. Now see, these are all predefined syntax. You need to follow those particular syntax in order to show corresponding output in the phone screen. So inside build button color, there will be color. So here is a variable declared that the color of the icons will be of this type. So color, then icons dot call. The similar syntax we have used in the star sections also. Next, the name of the icon. So these are all the syntax which are already defined from Flutter. We are simply using those. Okay. So after you complete this particular group, we will be moving into the next view, that is the text widget. So from the above programming code blocks, you could able to notice that we will be writing them in the form of rows and columns. So since in this case it contains only the text, we will be not using any row or column. We will be simply writing the text, because there is no importance of rows and columns, because there are no multiple widgets, so we need not to have. So since there are no multiple widgets, so we need not to use any rows and columns, so we will be simply writing the text. Okay, so I have written padding age insets dot all means it will giving the padding of 32 width on all the sides, that is left, right, bottom, and up. Therefore that will be 32 width. Next, it contains a child which is of type text. So inside text, the corresponding text message is written, and up to this you have created three different modules which depicts three different groups. So there is a order. First you decide the group, that what is my what all properties I need to coagulate inside a particular group. After you decide the group, next you see whether there are multiple widgets or a single widget. If there is a single widget, then there is no use of rows and columns. If there are multiple widgets, then you make use of rows and columns in order to specify the location of the widget. Okay, so the first example depicts the use of rows and columns. The second also depicts, since there are multiple elements, we make use of row. And third, since there is a single text widget, we only used no, we need not to mention any rows and columns, so we only mention the text. Okay, now these three modules will be called inside the main function in order to depict the output in the phone screen. So here we can see that here it is the main function is here the widget build, the total code block is starting. Now this particular block will be returning to the entire output screen. So inside the return statement, you need to write certain predefined widgets like the app bar. So the app bar contains the title. Here in the app, in the UI, we decided to place the name of the title to the, it will be left and right. If we want to switch the title into the center, we can do it also. It's completely on the developer side to place those elements. Okay. So after the app bar, next comes the body. Now here you will be seeing a new term that is list view. So what is the importance of list view? It is because whenever you are looking into a particular screen, then the elements are arranged one by one. This means that the elements are arranged in a contiguous way. So that view is known as list view. So whenever we are scrolling into a phone screen, then one element comes after one another. So that phenomenon exists due to which this particular view is called as list view. So it will be a list view. Then the list view contains different children. Therefore, I have written title section, button section, and text section. Another thing to mention that if you want to use any type of image into your app so that it will be reflected in the phone screen, you need to load that image into the IDE. So for doing that, you need to create a directory, which you can do it by moving into the file, and next you can move to the new section, and next here it is a directory. So after you create a directory, you could simply drag and drop that particular image inside the directory. After placing the image, after placing the corresponding image inside the desired directory, you could mention that particular change in the popspecs.yaml file. So inside the popspec.yaml file, mention that there is a asset, and inside that there is a lake.jpg. Okay. So here, after doing all the changes, move to the Dart file, and after, since I have already done, the corresponding option is not showing. But if you do it for the first time, then there will be an option over there is get dependencies in the upper section of the screen. There will be a instruction that get dependencies. After you click on the that particular button, you will able to use that particular image in your phones, in your app. So after that, you use image.asset. Since it is in asset folder, I have written images slash lake.jpg. You can fix the width, height, any sort of properties, it's on you. After you mentioned all the assets on all the modules you have already prepared, your app is ready to launch. Okay. So after, so you have all the code is already written since there is time constraint. So after you mention all the widgets and all the uh, app bar, whether it is app bar or it is bottom navigation bar, you if you want to add bottom navigation bar, you could do it also. So it's on you that whatever things you are putting inside the screen, you need to arrange it in such a way that a normal user can understand it. Okay. So the Gradle is running. Okay. For 2 seconds. Okay, so here you can see the main phone screen. It is an emulator. So the final app is gonna look like this. So it is a similar, it gives a similar view as of the Figma. So here comes the end product, that is the UI of the app. So you could see the importance of stage one. Okay, so doing any change in this very large code base is really difficult for any code for any developer. You could do it easily inside Figma. So after you clear the stage one, it is easier for you to code. So so I will be showing you one widget tree. Okay, so this is particularly a widget tree. So as I already mentioned, a container is a parent widget. inside that there will be a single row. The row will be divided into several columns, and the columns will contain different elements. So if I will need to reach that this particular icon, I can head over to the first row, then first column, and I will be able to reach that particular icon. So this is the importance of rows and columns. So with this, you might have a better idea regarding how we gonna approach to creating a UI. So first thing first, you need to decide what all elements you can group into a single group, so that I could able to write a modular code for that particular group only. After you decide the group, then you decide what all rows, what all columns I need to mention so that my icons or my text field is easily accessible. After the rows and columns, you need to mention all the modules inside the main function. So that so as I already showed you, the title section, button section, or the icon section is all called in the main program, main code block. So this is the structure how you proceed to create a UI. So that's all from my side. So hope you have a brief idea regarding how we proceed to create a UI and what is the importance of user interface. So if you have any doubts or queries, you can ask in the chat box, or you can connect with us with these particular social media handles. So looking for next. Hope you all enjoyed the session, and we could able to have more meetings like this and more funful enjoyment sessions like this.